Hello, how's it going? So my name's Saad Al-Zaid, and today I will be demoing and talking about a trauma tracker and registry that I recently made on Appsheets. It's mainly a proof of concept. My personal belief is or my aim making it was to provide an end-to-end platform that was a registry, would allow you to track your patients while they're in patients and will allow you to have some sort of quality control or some sort of quality improvement and be accessible to the physicians involved. As we know, those of us who do global surgery, trauma is a big deal when it comes to global surgery, especially with what's going on in the world. I myself am from the Middle East and I currently live there. And it's a bit of a heavy issue when you talk about the cost for things. Even something like RedCap, there's server costs, there's data collector costs because it's not intuitive and it's not easy to use. And what I was hoping to do with this platform was to provide something, some sort of platform that was extremely easy to customize for a certain person's settings, and at the same time provide some sort of, I would say, end-to-end follow-up for any trauma director or center director if they were doing humanitarian work or even if they worked in a major hospital. It's NTDB aligned, but not exactly the same for multiple reasons. One of which is that that's copyright protected. And it can certainly give you a very similar outcome to using TQuip, where you can benchmark against certain outcomes and stuff like that. And it was built, purpose built to be aligned with that and with the WHO's guidances. From the outset, this is the screen that you get. The menu is usually collapsed once you've deployed it or once you've copied over the app. You click on the side and you click New Patient, and you can go ahead and enter your patient. For the purposes of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and enter myself as a patient at Mass General Hospital. And I'm going to say that my civil ID or passport number is that. I'm from somewhere in the Middle East because I really don't want to get doxxed. I'm 55 years old. I am not going to give you my real date of birth. You're going to have to live with the fact that I was born in 1972 or something. Let's go all the way back. And we go ahead, and the first part of it is simply putting in the main demographics for your patient. In addition to the trauma date and time that's populated as well, the type of indication, as with many trauma centers, this was built around a tiered activation list that aligns with any typical trauma center, both the Trauma Association Canada and the internationally recognized ones, such as those in Australia and the US, etc. And the indications for the tier twos or the evaluations are also listed, or cost is also listed. Who did the initial evaluation for quality control purposes and how I had presented. Let's say I was a walk-in. The location of the trauma was, let's say, somewhere in the Middle East again, and where I was transferred from, which will be the scene at this point. Uh, Once you've done that, there are mechanism details that you need to fill in. Let's make me a penetrating stab wound because I accidentally fell on a knife. Let's do that for the sake of brevity. And we're going to say that it's non-intentional because I fell on that knife, as you usually do. And I've had no loss of consciousness, etc. And no signs of extensive hemorrhage or seizures. And these are all things that I'll get to later, allow you to be able to have a dashboard set up, whether you use a business intelligence platform like Looker Studio, Microsoft Power BI, or you decide to import them into R. In terms of past medical history, those that count I added in as push buttons. And you can also say whether or not you have anticoagulation on board and the indications, etc. I have no allergies and then I have no medications. I do not require tetanus. I do require antibiotics and tetanus, sorry, because I stabbed myself by mistake and I'm certainly not pregnant. The rest of the form is pretty much push button. The minute that you try and enter a primary survey for the airway, you can go ahead and put down what the status was, what you've done for them. In this case, it was simply O2 nasal, if that. Similarly, with the intervention time, where you assess them, put the O2 nasal, you can auto-populate or you can leave blank. In this case, I'm going to leave it blank for the sake of time. And so, as you can see, primary and secondary survey, I just went ahead and skipped over a couple of beats, paused the recording. As you can see, it's extremely easy to add specificity to the actual form by adding what parts of the FAST are positive. In this case, I have a penetrating injury above the umbilicus and the FAST is positive, as well as investigations. You can add the time and date for any blood gases that you've done, coagulation profiles, etc. There are certain things that are mandatory and we're reminded to put them in, things like a chest X-ray, pelvic X-ray, whether they were done. And any scans that were done should be added as well. Okay. In this case, obviously, no scans were done because I was stabbed directly in the anterior abdomen with a FAST that's positive. That's a clear indication for the OR. So we'll go ahead and add that to our summary plan. So stab wound to the anterior abdomen. Evidence of fascial penetration, positive, FAST, or OR. Okay. Tetanus and antibiotics. No blood was given, etc. And once you're done, you can go ahead and add your own custom scoring system where you add things to it. But in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and say that they were all zeros, except for the abdomen. I ballpark it, it's a 2 just for the sake of argument. And the same thing with the upper and lower limb. And then you can even add an ICD code. I've added a link for that. So it's a penetrating injury to the and the services that were involved were trauma. And let's say I left one of these blank. So let's try and answer. It will automatically jump back to anything that you've left blank for you to have to fill in. So an example here would be something like allergies or medications, or if there was a known suspected frequency. No anticoagulation. And as you can see here, I did not add that there was no other past medical history. Once you try to click save again, it will move you on to the next point, and the next point where you should have entered something like the respiratory rate on the secondary survey or the primary survey as part of your breathing assessment. And it will just go through and make sure that you've done a complete primary and secondary survey. And that's one of the second advantages of this. Not only does it provide you with an end-to-end platform, but it will make sure that you fill in a complete assessment. Now, I'll have you take a look at this. The disposition part tells the system to add the patient to an inpatient list for sign-up purposes, which is the second goal of the system. As we know, they're admitted under the trauma team, and the admitting MD, I'm going to go ahead and say it's my colleague, Dr. Badr. Badr, we don't know who requested us. It was evaluated by myself for the sake of, actually for the sake of better habits, I'm going to go ahead and put down somebody like Dr. Badr himself. And hit it. The decision's automatically populated, but you have to click on it. So we go ahead and save. And the follow-up will be by us, Lord help me. Once you hit save, the patient is added to the inpatient list, but also they're added to the pending evaluations. And the point is that you double check everything before you finalize. And once you finalize, what happens is, we hope, you will get a full set of documentation automatically generated for patient submission, as you can clearly see here. And it includes all the blood tests, etc., that you've entered. So not only do you get a registry entry, and not only do you get a sign-out list that you can see here under inpatients, you can populate. So you can include the ward, what the patient went through, but you also get automatic generation of documents. The mechanism, so in this case, it is a stab to anterior abdomen endings. Let's say I have a small bowel resection. And extra small bowel resection. You can very easily make this auto-populate. I found that the feedback that I got was that people wanted to be able to write these things. And let's say that I had a wound infection that would require an M&M. And I like to start people on Clexane, so I'm going to get Clexane, and I have no allergies. Once you flagged it as a morbidity and hit save, it will come up on the flagged incidents. And much like with any other form, you can use this to generate a complete M&M report just by filling in the relevant details. For example, the staff and specialties involved in the event, whether it was preventable or not, any autopsy details, the impact of the event, the clubbing window classification. So let's say that it required a bit of work, so at the bedside, and let's say that it would be tabulations. What you're going to do is your action plan. And you hit save. It will go ahead and generate a file with a flagged event in it. And you can see here, depending on what fields you filled in, it will automatically populate it for you. So it streamlines the ability to not only track your patients, but also your ability to keep track of events and quality control. The other thing that it helps you out with is discharges. So let's say that you decided to discharge the patient. You click on pending discharge and hit save. It will appear in the pending discharges. And you can go ahead and fill that in certain mandatory details like who the attending, involved in the discharges, where I'm being discharged to. I'd like to think I'm going home and not prison because I accidentally stabbed myself. What my final diagnosis was, and any other instructions given. So my diagnosis was small bowel injury, section. And it was not work related. And I did not stay in the ICU. And so I'm just going to go ahead and that. I had one small issue, which was a wound infection. And I have one set of instructions, wound dressing, and return to hospital instructions. Follow-up will be OPD with pathology report to be followed. The discharge checklist makes 100% sure that you haven't missed anything. It's an evidence-based intervention that I'd read about prior, so I added it as well. By no means is it mandatory. You can fix it in the back end if you like. But I found that it helps out a lot. And last but certainly not least, who discharged them? So we're going to say that Badr, and another squiggly line for my signature. And once again, you switch from admission to discharge, and you hit finalized, pull the switch to export it, and hit save. And the patient should be removed from the inpatient list, and a file should be generated with a complete discharge summary. Famous last words once again, but let's see if it worked. And lo and behold, it did. Last but certainly not least, I'd like to point out why this is all very useful. So this is the back end. Anybody who's familiar with Appsheets will know how it works. And you can add a bunch of different views. I have a total of 48 different views on here, including some reference views for the dashboard, etc. And the better part of Appsheets is the ability to follow your data sources and view your data sources. And as you can see here, I've already been registered, and it's in an Excel sheet. And you have a giant Excel sheet of every single patient that you've seen in your institution. And you can either backend this to Looker Studio, for example, on Google, or you can use it on other platforms such as R for statistical computing, or RStudio, maybe even Python potentially as a CSV file. I think it's a really, really, really good start for something that could grow bigger. I'm thinking about publishing about this. I'm just not sure how. I might do a cost effectiveness study. Anyway, this is Saad Zaid. Thank you for listening. Sorry if it took longer than it should.